Welcome to our cybersecurity event. I'm Martin and I'm your host today. And with me, I've got Jesper Mikkelsen from Trend Micro and Peter Glenstrup from Arctic Wolf. This is cyber criminals in the cloud. And all those cyber criminals will continue to use Tried and through methods like phishing, as we've talked about, unsecure secrets and exploiting known flaws. They will also explore new technologies in Java, in Adobe Flash and in WebLogic to gain access. And now the question is, what does the fairly new method mean to mimic the DevSecOps shift left approach by going to the source of an enterprise infrastructure? And first, I think I need one of you to explain what is shift left and what does this mean?
Jesper. Me? Well, thank you for that one.
You got it. I'm playing to you.
So, long story short, shifting left when it comes to the scenario you just described is basically taking a process that's in a later stage and then moving it up front. So when it comes to development, operation and security, it is actually to implement security in the early stages, basically in the earliest stages possible of your development operation, hence the term DevSecOps. And which is actually quite important because when you look at the way development works, it's okay, there's a library on GitHub, clone that into your source code, write your application and then push that to a container. Job done, moving on. But who checked that third-party library for either vulnerabilities or misused code or something additional before that actually got implemented into your production application or your Docker container that then got pushed to production? So you basically need to have your security tooling in that stage before the code gets compiled. So you're sure that the third-party libraries get checked for vulnerabilities. The developer gets notified, hey, you got a vulnerable library, like in the case with Log4j. So having that security built into this entire cycle also make it ease of use for the developer, because if there's something developers hate, is security, because it's slowing down their productivity, and we as security vendors do not want to do that. So we wanted to make it as seamless as possible, so it's just part of their everyday workflow. They just do Copilot deploy, and within that command, everything else is taken care of, including the security.
So maybe may I say a stupid joke? Sure. I'm a joker, so the S in IoT stands for security.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
good one.
Maybe you can get it again, but maybe a comment from me. So DevOps guys, as Jesper said, they are the DevOps guys, and it's really hard to get the security into that. And the monitoring around container environments is what we see our customers having a hard time about. The alerting, but the monitoring, who is taking care of that? So the CI/CD pipeline, all that great stuff that DevOps teams are doing. How can we integrate the security? They actually want to talk to each other, but it's really confronting, as Jesper said, the two processes or way of moving forward here, because DevOps see security as a brick wall they hit instead of something they can use and optimize and do even better work. But it's really confronting as we see it. So making it easier for them to work together, that is how we try to go to this DevSecOps world here and try and look at the platform, maybe do something on that. Look at the services they built and try and integrate the two worlds. So that is what we do.
So what about the hackers? They're always one step ahead. So what they do with their hacker, with their code, infrastructure as a code, they shift left as well. So they go in front of the security and will continue to do that because if security goes left, then the hackers will go left, because they will be in there. They will try to be in there before the security is implemented. And implementing a hacker in the infrastructure at an early stage is very, very dangerous, as I see it, because then they will get all the information on security and can implement and go into all your infrastructure and your production and so on. So is that something that we see in Denmark, or is it just something that they say that this is a threat that we should be aware of? What's your take on this?
So we have seen this being utilized in the wild for sure a couple of times now. No, actually going back a year or two as well. Going for the most generic part, which is the coin mining malware. So we're seeing a lot of that going on. So again, when developers they need to develop some application, they create a Docker container. They again reuse code because as a developer you don't need to reinvent the wheel if somebody else actually did it. So what we've seen quite a few times, so they clone the code, introduce it into the environment, and then go to production. But within this third-party library again, then there's actually also coin mining malware. So imagine if you're doing, like for example, a web front end in your container. So you auto-scale that. So now you have 200 containers that's not just doing your application, but also mining whatever cryptocurrency flavor of the month. So we see that quite a lot for sure. And again, the only way to mitigate this is to be as early in the stages of the development operations cycle as possible when it comes to security, to be able to pick up on this kind of either malware or vulnerable library for sure. But it again goes back to the monitoring stuff, like Peter also mentioned, because you're not to expect your security solution to pick up on everything and anything. That's not going to happen, and we do not have a crystal ball. So being one step ahead, we can do that in some from time to time, but it's actually quite difficult. So you need to be able to pick up on these low signals. So if your container starts to do something out of the ordinary, start to see a container trying to probe the host and moving laterally and all that fancy words, then you have something to look into. And hence you need security tooling that's purpose-built for this kind of environment and gives the telemetry that you actually need to get the needle in the needle stack.
Yeah, exactly. That is really, really true, and that's the same thing we see. What we also hear from our customers is they lack the resources of that expertise to see these needle in the haystack. So who can actually do that? And it's really hard for a Nordic point of view again here to find those experts that have that knowledge, that have that expertise. And that is something that most of our customers struggle with. If it is an SMB or large enterprise, whatever size, they all struggle with it. Either to get them hired, that they get really bored if they don't sit with the greatest tools or the threat hunting, threat intelligence tools to monitor and find everything, the tool set. But also to retain them, to keep them within the business is also really hard for them. So when they find one and pay them millions of Danish kroners in Denmark here, and then retain them because they get bored, that is a scary scenario for most management teams out there. So that is what we hear. They know what the journey is to get the monitoring and all the high fidelity, all the needle in the headstack toolings. They know the tools needed for it. Who will 24/7 sit and bring value out of all the tools, of the products, whatever it is named, and then retain them? That is a crazy big issue for the companies out there. They know the journey, they have budget for it, maybe bigger budgets than others, I don't know, but the biggest worry is the manpower, the expertise. That is the biggest issue we have right now from a Nordic point of view. I think I did numbers game again here, but I think in Holland there was 24,000 open positions within cybersecurity. So it's just divided and stuff like that. And I think I came up with above 6,000 cybersecurity, if I use that number. Intel again, where can I get the numbers from? So I used the EMEA numbers, but divided and stuff. So I got a number above 6,000 cybersecurity for Denmark alone. So imagine that. So if you're sitting out there in the universities and doing cybersecurity university things, good on you. That is what we also want, or lack. That is, again, a scare or something personal for me. If we focus only on Denmark, let's go global here. I want expertise as a Danish company. Is it really important to talk Danish? I can probably get the same if I find a good guy in some other country that can give me the expertise needed. Fine, let's move away from this. And we can come back to compliance and stuff like that, but let's move away from this local thing. Let's try and do a global thing. That's my personal thing here. Hope it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure it makes sense. That is also something that we see for sure, that there is a lack of resource. And also speaking of tools, so imagine if you're a 2 guys strong team in a company, which is not unusual. They're split because they do not only do security, they also do operation. And again, operation always way higher than the security part. And giving them all of the tools, they might have a SIM in place as well. So they have firewall logging, endpoint security, data center, all the bells and whistles. But imagine being 2 guys looking at a SIM tool where you have like a firewall that generates let's say 200,000 to a millions of events per day. That's not going to work. That's for sure not going to work. So time, skill set, resources in general, and those two, as you just mentioned, that's the difficult one.
Okay, but it all comes down to business. It all comes down to that we want to protect our customers' business. And a lot of increase in attacks has been seen in supply chain attacks. So a manufacturing company will be taken as hostage as with their data. They cannot order, or they cannot fulfill an order. So their customers are suddenly a hostage in this situation. So a lot of interest around this one company that has been attacked is being taken as hostages. So how do you see this? Is that I see that more going to locate businesses that are vulnerable in the market, where you can get extra companies to pay out for this one company to be free of the attack, so that the whole mill can start again. Is that something you also see, or is that something that we see in the paper as well?
So I think I mentioned that earlier today, that my two main concerns and what might keep me up at night is the true zero-day malware, but also the supply chain attack. And the main reason for that is when you look at supply chain attacks, like for example the Kaseya, which was quite recent, where I think it was a company in Sweden, a retail company in Sweden, that actually got, as a collateral damage, got encrypted by this specific supply chain attack. But the main concern from my point is, or why I think this both is lucrative and something that adversaries would really like to utilize even more, is the fact that you have software in your infrastructure that's trusted. You trust the software because, hey, you bought it. It has a function in your infrastructure. Your security team trusts it because they deployed it. And your security tooling trusts it because it's from a trusted vendor. So utilizing these kind of tools to backdoor the vendor of this software's supply chain, and then get them to update something malicious, and then everything else starts to go wrong. That's a high value for threat actors for sure. Because to be fairly honest, the true zero day, the really true evil 0 days, the adversary is not going to burn those. They're going to hold them internally until the right target is actually on the horizon. But the supply chain attacks, for sure, that's one of my main concerns, because again, it is something that's really super difficult to mitigate against. Again, going back, sorry for repeating myself, but having the monitoring solutions in play, that's key to today, regardless of the attack that you face. Having the ability to get the information.
Time is of the essence. So you need to be able to monitor this, have the right expertise 24/7. Don't do the two-man thing and say, 2 man is 24/7.
Not gonna work.
I need to go to sleep and be sick and take care of my kids and stuff. So really look out or look for a solution for this, because you need to monitor this. You will get attacked no matter what, no matter who you are, and the attackers are super lazy. So they are also an operations big business, as we talked about. So if they scan, Denmark and find an MSP using a product that they can do a supply chain, then they can attack one company, but actually they are going for the 7,000 customers that MSP have, or whatever it is. It is super good business case. It is so that Kaseya thing, that was cheap. There was only a small amount of dollars that everybody needed to pay, but everybody is the key here. So if I get $70,000 out to 7,000 customers, that's a big chunk of money. So it's super lazy attackers. They attack only once and then they go out. And that's the scary part for me as well. So monitoring, speed is the answers. Find the needles. The monitoring is so key for our customers. Don't do hero events. Let's close it down immediately. Find the action plan, the batch file that is coming in, whatever it is. Find out what they want to do, what is the lateral movement, where do they want to go, all that stuff. That is the key outcome our customers want, to be protected 24/7 against this as best as possible. You cannot predict day zero. We are not 100%, but we want to be there, and we want to find that thing that is going on and be super quick, because otherwise we go out to these attacks we see in the newspapers. And they will happen, and everybody is right now I think every company is, and numbers game again, sorry to bring that up again. I see in the Nordics, I see 60% of all the companies here in the Nordics have IT security in their yearly report. So the board of directors are talking cybersecurity. So that's a key point from my point of view or my world here. Is if we are at the highest level, we were talking back in the days with IT managers and IT CIOs and stuff. Suddenly the board of directors are going down and say, hey, are we supply chain? Are we the supply chain? We're also seeing smaller companies getting targeted because they supply to a bigger company. So that's also a way in. So it's actually a small amount of customers, but if I really want to go into that big shop that had a giant security operations center with all the wells and business, then I go after a small company out there in somewhere in Denmark or Sweden or wherever it is. And then I go into that, and then I send a weaponized invoice or a weaponized PDF to the big company, and then I'm in. And as Jesper said, the true day zero thing, that's also a scary thing. The Log4j, as I think Jesper mentioned it, that's a big tail. We see it as a tail. We have a great event, everybody knew about it, it's all over the news. That's cool. The real hackers, they're waiting and waiting and waiting. So until all of us are more onto something else or looking the other way, and then they go after these real day zero things. So we know about it, but we see it from our customer base. Scan, be proactive, monitor. You need to be very proactive in your guidance and your way to close down these things.
I would like to thank you for a very nice cybersecurity panel. It's been a good discussion.
Cool.
So what I've heard is monitor, monitor, monitor.
True.
And we'll do that going forward from now on. So thank you so much. Thank you.